Well, a lot of breaking news, a lot of fast-moving news stories happening as we're heading into the holiday week here. But today I wanted to talk about something a lot of people in the America First movement are really worried about. Not the enemies outside of the White House, but the ones inside of the White House, the deep state globalists who always seem to slip into every administration, no matter who's president. We were warned that hopefully this wouldn't be the case, but that's not the case this time. One name, though, keeps coming up over and over again, Susie Wiles. Someone extremely close to the president, President Trump, many believe is part of the same sort of entrenched network that's been trying to steer the America First agenda off a cliff here. So today I wanted to bring in someone who's been calling this out for decades, a man who's taken all the arrows exposing these globalist infrastructure from InfoWars. That's Alex Jones. Alex, great to see you, my friend. Welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me. Big fan of the broadcast. Haven't seen you since 2016 when you and I had dinner with Tucker at the RNC in Cleveland.
Man, a lot has changed since then, right? Oh, my gosh.
Feels like a million years ago, but also yesterday.
Well, you know, it's so interesting. It's great you bring that up because you think about 2016 and you think about all those deep state swamp monsters, the globalists who have really infiltrated the Trump's first administration. We thought we got rid of them this time around, but there's been a growing chorus. We've been covering on our show over the past couple of weeks, really the destruction of the Maha movement, thanks to these swamp monsters inside of the White House. People like Susie Wiles and these other globalists who are really driving this narrative. So I think they're having us fighting. I have a theory, Alex, which is I think they're having us fighting out here. But really, there's an agenda among these globalists that are close to President Trump that are driving things. What say you? What do you think about Susie Wiles and the sort of Trump's inner circle right now?
I don't want to say that Susie Wiles is the devil, though from so many of my sources who are firsthand, time and time again, she's the one that basically directs Todd Blanche, the DOJ, to kill certain things, to do certain things. But then she says, oh no, I'm totally make America great again. Okay, well, either she's the mastermind in control of the Trump administration and she's doing this, as they say, who's helped Trump, or she's incompetent. So I want to know who it is, because we're told, and certainly better organization, Trump's doing way better than 8 years ago. But I'm not looking for trouble. I'm not trying to say Kash Patel's bad or Dan Bongino or Pam Bondi or Todd Blanche. I just continue to see the same players over and over again. And, a few months ago it came out that Ed Martin reached out to me, the task force leader on government weaponization, and they said, hey, the Democrats ran the suits, the DOJ did, the documents come out in court, all those were in court cases, all that was just, made up hysteria. And then when he found out, he told ABC News and others, Jones's fringe, we're killing the investigation. And then I got sources that told me, and let's just leave it at that it wasn't Todd, it was her. So what is her instinct doing that? I don't know what to say or what to do, but we now know that Bill Barr, former CIA, the only person ever to be Attorney General twice that I know of, was literally working against Trump during his administration and then after. And so I think this is a replay, and you really can't blame the president. He's 79. At 51, I couldn't do this. He's got 4 million employees. They lie to his face. So I don't want to say who I know the villain is, but regardless, maybe Todd Blanche is the greatest guy since sliced bread. Maybe Susie Wiles is wonderful. Well, then they're incompetent then, because the agenda is getting blocked. And we need Trump to succeed. We know he's night and day compared to Democrats. That's why we've got to be critical. These white pillars that say, don't criticize Trump. No, I found when I criticize Trump, that's when I get action and changes, and I'll leave alone the phone calls I got in the last 48 hours. And again, they're like acting like I'm the one that's created this giant upset about Blanche and her, when it's everybody, even before me. And I'm like, I'll take the credit. But I said, you have an informed public that, compared to Democrats, light years ahead, that watches policy. And,
right.
and so we're hearing who runs things. So I said, if you want to blame me and ask, well, what do you think we should do? Oh, meet with us. I was just like, come on. And I'm not going to get into names or whoever, but definitely the alarm bells are going off, because real polls, Mark Mitchell was on my show last week, and he's a populist conservative. He has one of the most accurate pollers ever. And before this all broke in the last few days, he said, Trump is way down, lowest numbers. Here's why. They got other numbers internal. They said he was right. So they called him, summoned him there for my show last week and said, what do we do? And that was the vice president and others and the president. So overall, they're good people. And I want to believe that Susie Wiles and Todd Blanche are good. I really don't care at the end of the day. Just get out of the way. But at the same time, as negative as it is, it's good news that there is direct response to me, because I'm not like trying to run around and go to the White House and go to Mar-a-Lago. I'm not bragging, but I've been invited to the White House a few times, Mar-a-Lago, since Trump got in. But I know how it is. He says hi, pats you on the head. I got better stuff to do. I'm not into tuxedos and red carpets. I mean, it just, but the fact that they're begging me to come to the White House shows they know there's a real crisis. And so that's good news, is that they now see the zeitgeist is upset.
Oh, absolutely. I spoke to Noel Frisch from the National File just the other day on my show, and he was pointing the guns directly, with the target directly at Susie Wiles for getting in the way of this administration's agenda. And you have Borla from Pfizer coming into the White House, standing there. You have RFK Jr., who's denounced these individuals, having to stand there and take it, like stand off to the side. And then we covered the story, and not to pat myself on the back or anything, because who the hell knows. But as soon as we did that story, the next day, Susie Wiles calls RFK Jr., has him put out a tweet defending her. I don't know if you remember that the other day. So we know
behind the scenes, she calls everybody and does that, yeah.
We're over the target with this. And I think clearly the people that are getting close to Trump right now, I mean, they're really blocking him. And they're having meetings with Bill Gates and Mark Zuckerberg and Alfred Borla in the White House, pushing this stuff that none of us asked for. So, she's a Bushy, right? We know that. So I think there's a real, we're at a critical moment.
She might as
right
well
now.
be Liz Cheney.
Right. That's the way I see it. Exactly. So what you do see, I mean, how destructive do you think this is to the MAGA movement? Because you have a lot of people who are like pro-Israel, the pro-Israel Zionists out there who are defending Susie Wiles. And I always think when I see those people that are defending Susie Wiles, again, we're over the target. So something's got to shake here.
Well, here's what Susie Wiles needs to know. She can get on our team and win, or not get on the team and get thrown away. I don't care about hurting Todd Blanchard or Susie Wiles. We have to save the country. I know they've got pressure, behind them, all the rest of it. But regardless, the base is sophisticated now. And so exactly, you've got these wars going on against Tulsi Gabbard and RFK Jr. and the real stalwarts that are actually, believers and doing their job. And then you've got these politicos that think they're still in the old political game. And maybe you know how to run RNC machinery. That's great. But you need to, you're in the engine room, not the captain. And so you can run the engine room to help, run the fundraising and all that, but you need to get out of the way when it comes to being the captain, because the American people put Trump in for the course we set. We bought tickets to a cruise ship to go a certain place, and that's not where she's going. And for me, I don't have a hard-on for Israel. I don't hate Israel. I also don't want Israel running what we're doing, and now that's the zeitgeist. And the more the neocons try to impose themselves and their will, and Chuck Schumer with resolutions against Tucker Carlson and stuff, a 5-year-old that's politically aware would know that's Streisand effect. I actually don't want Israel to be the main focus. I want China and border security and the dollar and our cultural systems and rebuilding to be number one. But I get the drama queening of some of the Israel lobby and the Democrats as well that want to make that, because it's a distraction from everything else. So it's very destructive. But Israel, with their current leadership, continues to make themselves a center of attention. And Napoleon said, never interrupt an enemy when they're making a mistake. Well, Israel's not my enemy. So I'm going to interrupt Israel and say, dude, we're in the middle of the fourth turning, a global populist revolution predicted for hundreds of years, and you want to make yourselves the establishment trying to suppress loved people like Tucker Carlson? It is the dumbest move on earth. Israel has nuclear weapons. Israel's won its war on Hamas and Hezbollah. Just stop. But Netanyahu's in political trouble, so he needs to keep the crisis going or he'll go to prison. And so at the end of the day, I'm just completely call balls and strikes on this. And 100% the Israel lobby through Netanyahu and others sees that the Democrats have record low approval rating, record low fundraising. They see a power vacuum, so they're making the cliche true of the Israel lobby trying to come into that vacuum. What they don't understand is there's even more sophisticated forces that are sitting back just laughing at that.
Well, you bring up a great point, the sitting back and laughing, which is something I wanted to talk about, which is this idea that while everyone over here is quibbling back and forth, they're marshaling us into this biometric surveillance state. And I know something you've been talking about for a long time, we've been covering on the show as well, which is they want us fighting down here over the scraps. All of these fights on X and social media and so forth. But then what they're missing, what a lot of people are missing, is the bigger picture. Like Colonel Towner Watkins points out, This is all part of the operation. This is all part of the operation. Move us into a biosurveillance state where you have total control. They're moving us towards a digital dollar where they're going to be tracking everything we do, all of it. Well, you can address that. I want you to get your take on that, because a lot of it points, squarely at like Palantir and these relationships with Trump's inner circle on that. And I know a lot of people don't want to talk about it. Like, oh, let's just not talk about the Palantir side of this and the influence on the Trump administration, J.D. Vance, and all of this. But we need to stare these things right in the face, don't we?
No, I agree. My issue with Palantir is it's being brought in as little tech, the new tech, to take over all the surveillance system and kind of one ring to rule them all. So it's definitely doing that. I've been critical of it. People need to understand that Microsoft and other companies like Amazon, people don't know, is heavily involved in national security, and Google are even more involved. The reason you hear about it is because Palantir is coming with a more sophisticated system that dials it all in, and under AI, that's the holy grail, is the total control synthesis, and that's the arms race of AI with the Chinese, with the U.S. and others, is for that. So Palantir is in the gun sights because it's seen as pro-Trump, and it's trying to unify that, which I think is extremely dangerous, and I've been very, very critical of. But absolutely, when you pull back from all of this, it's those technologies that can absolutely control and decide society under a cashless society, under a universal basic income, and no matter who's running it or who's doing it, I just say reject it all. But instead, because of the AI arms race, that's been thrown to the side. They're like, humans don't get energy. Sorry, your power bill's up because these data centers, AI has to have it. That is big tech coming in, and the decisions have been made. We think of black versus white, or whatever. No, or boomer versus Gen Z. No, the real thing is AI versus humans, just from the basis of, as Eric Schmidt said last year at Stanford, or earlier this year, he said AI needs 100 times the power we have in the U.S. by 2038 or whatever it was. I mean, think about that. You don't get a car, as Obama said in his last year in office, in Africa and Latin America, a car, air conditioning that overheats the earth. But AI gets 100 times the power, and 3 Mile Island turned back on in coal plants because it's so important. But you can't have a car air conditioning, right, which we know is all discredited. So yeah, the real class system is the technocracy and the AI, and it literally being favored. And once humans figure out you're paying more for your power bill so that AI can take over, to me, that's the real attack point.
Over the past couple of days, Alex, we've seen people jumping online and burning their Make America Great Again hats. It's being painted that there's this huge rift in MAGA right now. And, I've always just been America first, and I've never identified as any kind of MAGA or anything. But you see this rift shifting towards America first. Lots of talk about, my God, are you going to really get behind Nick Fuentes? He's a Nazi, all of this stuff. Or are you actually pay attention to what he's saying and how many young people are actually listening to what he's saying? Disaffected youth who are absolutely spinning their wheels right now. They can't get a job. As you just pointed out, AI is taking over. My son is 15 years old, and I keep trying to tell him, learn how to be an electrician, learn how to be in the trades, learn how to use your hands, construction, because, man, everything is changing. But just get your take on sort of the calling Nick Fuentes a Nazi and sort of talking over and missing what he's saying to young people, or what young people are saying through him.
Well, I knew Nick about 9 years ago and thought he was young and smart, and he wasn't, quote, as radical as he is now. But I thought, the left says Christians and Catholics and conservatives are inherently the devil, and that white genetics is inherently evil. We've seen those headlines, and that white people should kill all their kids. So I said, him saying whites first and stuff, he's not 10% as radical as you. So I said, you've broken the rules of Western society and you've of Christianity. You've done this. So the Overton window needs to be balanced by Nick Fuentes. So Christ said, before you get the speck out of my eye, get the beam out of your eye. So that's, to me, I don't agree with as far as Nick goes. And that's always been my view. It's the same view today as it was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I was a guy that was seen as radical before, and I was really a moderate. But I understand the view. I understand the young people. I understand, what they're going through. And so the establishment can't suppress that and dominate that. They understand that that's what you conjured by the horrible racism against Catholics, Christians, and white people, that you should expect this to come. And so you can't be mad at something that is like 10% as radical as you You're lucky. Like Tucker Carlson said last week, he said to the Israel lobby, he said, you think Nick Fuentes is your big problem. You keep doubling down on this, you're going to have a real problem, which none of us want because we can think second, third, fourth order out. But yeah, this Schumer with a thing to condemn Nick Fuentes in Congress. And I mean, I would pray to have Chuck Schumer do a congressional repudiation of me. I mean, I had Hillary attack me, say I'm the dark heart and the devil, and I went from 30 million listeners a day to like 50 million the next day. They don't think Streisand effect. They're in a bubble, that they're in charge. It's not that they're that powerful, except they're that hated. So I would pray for Chuck Schumer to say, we're going to pass a law repudiating Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes. I mean, like that's just a no-brainer that if somebody's politically defeating you, you ignore them and shut up. So again, it shows the instincts of the political establishment's dead. I mean, Chuck Schumer is the crypt keeper. Remember that old show in the 80s?
Right.
I mean, these people are, and then who replaces them? AOC and Jasmine Crockett? I mean, this is a lunatic asylum. So all Trump has to do is continue to research what's happening, educate the public, explain he's the rebel, say it, stop saying, oh, the economy's great. No, he's got to be honest, say it takes time. He's got to keep being the rebel and then not sit there and, perform public fellatio to the Israel lobby. Doesn't mean we hate Israel. Just stop it. Stop having parades of billionaires. People love Elon, but everybody else they don't like. Stop bringing Elon back, which we advise he's doing again. That was popular with Doge, and just stop it. We want rebel. I mean, look, I'm for real issues. But also, young people want to see the rebel image because they know that's what, we need to see Trump with a full auto M4 shoot up a case of Bud Light. We need to see Trump not at NASCAR, but driving a NASCAR. And indicting the globalists and all the real stuff. But I'm telling you, Trump, we don't want to see golden gold. I know gold's great. I'm not against it. We don't want to see gold halls and all the billionaires and Larry Ellison. We want to see war against tyranny. We want to see revolution. We want to see maverick. We want to see outlaw. I mean, take Texas country. In the early 1970s, they told Waylon Jennings and Willie Nelson and Chris Christopherson and a few others, we don't like your long hair and you singing about smoking pot. Get out, you're banned. Now, they weren't rebels robbing train cars or doing, no. But they moved to Austin, Texas, and just said, we're rebels. And within 5 years, they were 70% of country music sales for people. Well, that's fake rebel. And I know Willie Nelson, friends with them all. I'm not saying they're not real rebel. Compared to what Trump's done, he is literally Jesse James. We want Jesse James. We don't want, and Trump's not King Trump, like Democrats said, but he's kind of gone into that mode. We don't want King George V.
By the way, this is what Nick Fuentes said to Trump when they had dinner. He said exactly this to him. And Ye was sitting right there next to him. And he said, we want this. We want you to stand up. When you stood up at that debate and you said this, like, we need more of that. We need more of that backbone that you showed. And Trump turned to him and said, oh, you like that, huh? You like that? Yeah. I like this kid.
No, I mean, not kissing and telling, because, I've had a bunch of calls for White House those 4 or 5 days. They're asking, what do we do? I'm like, do you not listen? We don't want just fake rebel. We want rebel. If you just come out and be a damn rebel, like Trump, you're not in power. You're surrounded by the courts, the deep state. You're trying to get stuff done. Explain. We want underdog rebels. We don't want, oh, look, I'm hanging out with the royalty. That we do not like it.
Right.
We don't want to be given a tour of gold sculptures, until we've got our gold sculptures. Like, we just want money to pay the rent. So we want a rebel. And we want it now.
I'll get you out of here on this, Alex. You have an unbelievable ability to see blind spots that we don't see. And, in many ways, like a soothsayer. So when you're looking at, as you've talked about, coming World War IV, not even World War III, what blind spots are you studying right now that maybe most people just aren't seeing?
Well, the CIA called the Cold War World War III, which is really non-kinetic. This is World War IV, and I agree with those analysis. That's a great question. I mean, the blind spots kind of over for most of them, but the elites thought they could have a post-industrial austerity. We'd all live like agrarian slaves. They reduce us and manage us, and then they would all just be safe with their armored redoubts. Then they figured out in the collapse they're not safe because we know they're the bad guys. So I think that was their blind spot they've gotten. I think that obviously the blind spot is you turn everything over to AI. Then if there's a malfunction or AI takes over a problem, everything breaks down. I mean, there's so many blind spots. Chivalry and diversification and separation of powers of Thomas Jefferson was not because he was a wimp or an idiot. He understood the danger of human mistakes and crowds and mobs. And so under the globalist plan to depopulate 80% of us and do all this, they finally figured out, oh, they'll get pissed during the, turning off the resources. We'll get destroyed. But it needs to go further than that. These elites need to know, no one is immune from blowback. So Christ's golden rule, treat others like you want to be treated, doing others as you would do, is not some wimpy hippie thing. With this much power that humans have with nuclear weapons and all of this, the only way forward is to never do to somebody what you wouldn't do to yourself. Chivalry is not a wimpy thing, like we don't target women and children. Because you're a warrior, you don't want women and children targeted. Like you're a wimp, once you cross that line, it's over. So I think we need a return of chivalry. The blind spot is all these evil people or uneducated people or unexperienced think, oh, why don't we do this? Why didn't they do that before? They're wimps. No, they weren't wimps. They were real men compared to you. Chivalry is a manly thing. Chivalry is real civilization. It needs to be returned to chivalry. If men want to kill each other, we want to have ritual combat, we need to do it in a controlled way. And so I think the blind spot is that people don't realize chivalry is civilization. We need to return to chivalry.
Now, one thing I've been teaching my son, hold that door, pick up that check, be a man, so important. Alex Jones, great to see you, my friend. I hope you have a wonderful holiday, wonderful Thanksgiving, and look forward to catching up with you real soon. Thanks as always.
Please come on my broadcast. God bless you.
Thanks, Alex.